All right, welcome in everybody to this deep dive. And today we are really excited to be taking a look at the work of Mary Q. Angel. Now, I know that a lot of you are already familiar with her work. She wears a lot of hats, right? She's an actor, a writer, a director, a producer. I mean, she does it all. But what we're really interested in with this deep dive is kind of getting into her head a little bit. You know, we've got a whole bunch of interviews where she talks very frankly about her craft and her philosophy. And I gotta say, I found it really fascinating, just the way she approaches her work. It's very unique.
It is, and I'm excited to dig into it.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about it as well.
Well, one of the things that really struck me was how she talks about performance almost like a spiritual practice. And she has this really interesting concept she calls taking in the world.
Okay, taking in the world. I like that. So not just observing it,
right,
but taking it in. So what's the difference there?
I think for her it's about, this active absorption, not just seeing things, but feeling them, internalizing them.
Okay.
For example, she mentioned writing dialogue based on overheard conversations.
Oh, interesting.
Not the actual words, though, more like the energy, the unspoken dynamic between people.
So she's picking up on all these like little micro expressions.
Yeah.
The tiny cues that most of us miss completely.
Exactly.
Wow, it makes you think about how you walk through the world. Like, what am I not noticing?
Exactly.
What subtle details are shaping the interactions around me?
And that's exactly what Mary suggests, that by truly taking in the world, we tap into a wellspring of inspiration. It's not about actively seeking it out. It's about being present enough to let it find us.
Yeah. And have you ever noticed that like sometimes inspiration seems to strike out of nowhere when you're not even looking for it?
All the time, yeah.
It's almost like it finds you.
Yes.
When you're open to it.
It does.
Yeah.
And Mary connects this directly to the responsibility she feels to create. She believes each of us possesses a unique perspective shaped by what she calls our training grounds.
I like that. So what are training grounds?
It's essentially the sum of our experiences, right?
Okay.
The specific people, places, and situations that have shaped who we are.
Yeah.
Almost like a custom obstacle course.
I like that.
We're each born into.
Yeah. So it's like we each have these unique paths.
Yes.
But we're all still running the same race in a way.
Right. We all have that inherent potential to create.
Right. And she's very clear that this responsibility to create isn't about achieving fame. It's about honoring that unique voice, that spirit within us that has something to offer the world.
Yeah.
And I love how she balances this almost spiritual approach with a very down-to-earth practicality.
Yeah.
Like that anecdote about YoungBLAZE, remember, the rapper who interviewed her?
Yeah.
And he wrote his first script in Microsoft Excel.
I know, right? I mean, and she's not saying you shouldn't learn proper formatting or anything.
Right, right.
But her point is, don't let the technical stuff
get in the way.
Get in the way.
Yeah.
Create first, refine later.
That's a great reminder for anyone who's ever felt like, oh, I don't know enough.
Right.
To get started on something.
Yeah.
Just start somewhere.
You get it out.
Right. The tools will come.
Exactly, yeah.
But speaking of tools, let's talk about her core acting philosophy.
Okay.
She has this great quote, I want to be felt, not seen.
Yes.
And this really comes through in the story about her performance in the play I Can Survive.
Absolutely. That's such a powerful example. YoungBLAZE talks about how utterly blown away he was by her performance.
Yeah.
And audiences were moved to tears not because of some flashy display of technique,
right,
but because of the raw emotion she brought to the role.
It makes you think about what truly captivates an audience. It's not just about being, visually impressive. It's about that deeper connection, that ability to transmit genuine feeling.
It is. It's about touching people's hearts.
Yeah.
And, to prepare for that role, Mary really went all in.
Yeah.
She talked about how she completely immersed herself in the character's world. It affected everything, her voice, her walk, even her thought patterns.
Wow, a total transformation, not just putting on a costume.
Exactly, yeah.
It's fascinating how actors can tap into those different aspects of themselves, almost like they're channeling different energies.
That's a great way to put it. And this actually brings us to a key distinction Mary makes between film and theater.
Okay.
She respects both mediums, but for her, theater is something special.
Okay.
She describes it as a synergy of souls.
Synergy of souls. Now that's evocative. What does she mean by that?
She sees theater as a living organism, a shared experience between the performers and the audience. In that moment, everyone's breathing together, feeling together, creating something unique that could never be replicated.
So it's not just the actors performing, it's the audience contributing their energy as well.
Exactly.
It's almost like a collective prayer, wouldn't you say?
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And remember how Mary asks, who's really the performer?
Right.
She's implying that the audience isn't just passively watching. They're active participants in the creation of the theatrical experience.
Yeah.
And it's that immediacy, the shared heartbeat, that allows her to really fulfill that desire to be felt, not just seen.
That raw, unfiltered connection.
Yes.
Now, I'm curious to know how this translates to her directing style.
Yeah.
I know she has some strong opinions about how actors should be guided.
Yeah.
For instance, I read that she's not a fan of directors feeding actors lines.
You're right. She's very much against that.
Yeah.
In fact, she finds it disrespectful to the actor's process. For Mary, directing is about encouragement, about creating a space where the performer can tap into their own authentic self.
So it's less about giving orders and more about drawing out what's already there.
Right.
I wonder if her taking in the world philosophy influences her directing as well. Is she watching for those subtle cues in her actors, those unspoken emotions that can inform a performance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She talked about asking an actor, does that feel good? When they're holding back emotionally. And it's not about judgment.
Right.
It's about raising awareness,
Okay.
making the actor conscious of their internal state so they can choose how to express it.
So she's helping them get out of their own way.
Exactly.
And trust their instincts.
Yeah.
But this all seems very focused on the individual right.
Right.
How does that translate when you're dealing with a whole cast and crew working towards a shared vision?
Well, that's where the concept of territory comes in.
Okay, territory.
For Mary, understanding the history, the struggles, and the spirit of a place is crucial to the creative process. She believes that the work created in a particular location should reflect that environment.
So it's about absorbing the essence of a place and letting it infuse the work. I wonder if she feels a particularly strong connection to Chicago, given that she's chosen to build her career here rather than, say, Hollywood.
She talks about the difference in energy between the two cities.
Okay.
Hollywood, for her, feels almost carefree, detached from the realities of everyday life.
Okay.
Whereas Chicago has this raw, gritty energy that demands a different kind of creation.
So it's not just about the individual.
Right.
It's about the collective energy of a place.
Yes.
The history, the struggles, the triumphs, all of that feeding into the art that's created there.
Exactly, yeah.
And that brings up a really interesting point. How aware are you of the territory you inhabit? And how does it influence your work?
That's a powerful question to ponder.
It is.
It makes you think about how our surroundings shape us, both consciously and unconsciously.
Yeah.
And it ties directly into YoungBlaze's concept of Chicallywood. Have you heard of that?
I have, but I admit I don't know much about it.
Well, it's fascinating. It's basically YoungBlaze's vision for elevating Chicago's film scene,
Okay.
fostering local talent, and creating opportunities right here in the city, rather than chasing the traditional Hollywood dream.
So instead of trying to fit into an existing mold,
Right.
they're creating their own space, their own rules.
Exactly.
And it sounds like Mary's completely on board with this approach.
She is. She talks about not waiting for permission, about making your own opportunities. And she's certainly walking the walk. She's got several upcoming projects,
Okay.
including Pink Elephant, The Like I Wish I Had, and all being produced right here in Chicago.
That's inspiring, seeing someone put those ideas into action.
Yeah.
It really reinforces the idea that we have more power than we realize to shape our own destinies, our own careers, our own creative paths.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the creative vision. It's about the attitude we bring to the work.
Okay.
Mary's a big advocate for professionalism, not just as a courtesy, but as a way to elevate the quality of the work itself.
It's interesting because most people think of professionalism as just being on time and meeting deadlines.
Right.
But she seems to be talking about something deeper, more about respecting the craft, respecting the vision, respecting the collaborators.
Exactly. She believes that raising the bar for professionalism in Chicago will ultimately elevate the work, make it stand out on a national and even international level.
Yeah.
It's about creating a culture of excellence.
So Chicallywood isn't just about creating a different kind of film industry.
Right.
It's about creating a different kind of culture.
It is.
One that values integrity, collaboration, and a deep commitment to the work.
That's it.
And that's what I call Chicallywood. But I'm also curious about how this ties back to Mary's spiritual side. Remember at the beginning we talked about her approaching performance almost as a form of prayer.
Yes.
I wonder how she reconciles that with the practicalities of running a business.
Yeah.
Creating opportunities, demanding professionalism.
Right.
It seems like those two things could be at odds with each other.
That's a great observation, and I think that's where things get really interesting.
Right.
It seems like for Mary, those two things aren't separate at all. They're intertwined. Her spirituality informs her work ethic.
Okay.
And her pragmatism fuels her creative fire. It's all part of the same tapestry.
So if we follow that thread, if performance truly is a prayer, as Mary believes,
Yes.
then what kind of prayers are being offered up in Chicago's creative scene? What kind of energy are these artists putting out into the world?
That's a fascinating question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think it's one that each individual artist, each member of the audience has to answer for themselves.
And I'm willing to bet that those answers are going to be as diverse and multifaceted as the city of Chicago itself.
For sure.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
we've got a lot more to unpack here. Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of Mary Q. Angel, where we'll explore even more of her fascinating insights and experiences.
No matter when a time, no matter what a place, I hope you get the world while I give you space. Everything you want, it ain't always what it seems. You know them feelings that you hide, let me tell you what it means. I know you think about me, I know you think about me, I know you think about me. Got you rolling, going crazy sometimes. Even though the things have changed, you've been on my mind. I remember how I met you. It was something kinda special. You was something that I had to step to. I ain't even know if I'm your type, but I know just what I like. It was obvious that I was gonna dress you, and that was 07. Ever since way back then, we've been rocking real hard with each other. Every time I lost contact, you would keep in contact, even though we live far from each other. Cool. First to admit, I was passive aggressive. In words they would trip, I would pass on my blessings. So burn my attempts just to ask you the questions. Like, would you be mine? I would shower my actions. But I knew that we was gonna get together, cause this year when we did, girl, we clicked. Cause even though we had a lot of common, it was doing real good. But some words like the fan hit the... Even though I seen it was coming, don't know what was missing, but it seems it was something. Feelings you was having kinda seems you was running, then you change up your vibe on it like it's nothing. For real though, I'm still glad that I met you. I know that everything ain't what it seems. So when you put them headphones on and my song comes on and that part comes on, you used to sing. I know you think about me. I know you think about me. We ain't talking in a while, it's been a minute. I know you think about me. Got you rolling, crazy sometimes. You've been on my mind. I know you think about me. I know you think about me. I know you think about me. Got you rolling, crazy sometimes. Even though the things have changed, you've been on my mind.
Picking up where we left off, I'm fascinated by how Mary kind of weaves her spiritual perspective into the very practical aspects of her work. For her, it's not just about the craft. It's about the energy, the intention behind it.
Okay.
She sees actors as vessels, channels for these stories and emotions that need to be expressed.
It's like she's elevating acting beyond just a profession and into something almost sacred.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of those ancient cultures where like shamans or storytellers held a special place in the community, you know?
Yeah.
They were the ones who connected people to something bigger than themselves. And I think that's what Mary's getting at when she talks about that responsibility to create. It's not just about entertaining, it's about transmitting something real, something that resonates on a soul level.
That's it.
And you can see how that philosophy informs her approach to directing, too.
Yeah.
Remember how adamant she was about not feeding actors lines?
Yes.
It's like she has this deep respect for the actor's process.
Yes.
Their ability to find the truth of the character on their own.
It really struck me how much trust she puts in the actors she works with.
Yeah.
And it ties back to that idea of training grounds, right? Each actor brings their own unique set of experiences to the table, their own way of interpreting the role.
It's like she's saying, I trust you to bring your full self to this, and together we'll create something magical.
Right.
But that also implies a lot of vulnerability on the actor's part, doesn't it?
Yes.
Putting yourself out there like that, trusting the director to guide you.
Absolutely. And Mary's very conscious of that.
Okay.
She talked about how important it is to create a safe space for actors to explore, to experiment, to even fail. She sees directing as a collaborative process, a partnership where everyone's voice is valued.
It's like a dance.
Yeah.
This delicate balance between offering guidance and stepping back to let the actor find their own way.
Right.
And I think that takes a lot of skill and sensitivity on the director's part.
It does.
But Mary's not just focused on the internal world of the actor. She's also very aware of the external pressures they face.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to navigating the often harsh realities of the industry.
Absolutely. She's very candid about the challenges of being an actor, the constant rejection, the self-doubt that can creep in.
Yeah. It's a tough business.
It is.
But she has this incredible perspective on it.
Yeah.
She talked about how she refuses to get caught up in the need for a particular role. It's about recognizing that every audition, every experience is a stepping stone on a larger journey.
It's about the journey, yeah.
It's like she's saying, don't let the outcome define you. Just keep showing up, keep doing the work, and trust that the right opportunities will come your way.
And that takes a lot of resilience, wouldn't you say?
It does. It does. And she emphasizes that confidence is key. Not arrogance, but a deep-seated belief in yourself and your abilities. She has this great line, it's not if you'll succeed, it's when.
Oh, I love that.
That kind of mindset can be incredibly empowering, especially in a field as competitive as acting.
Especially, yeah.
It's about trusting the process even when things get tough.
Yeah.
And I think that's a valuable lesson for anyone, no matter what field you're in.
Absolutely.
But, you know, I'm curious, does Mary ever talk about those times when the rejections pile up, when self-doubt starts to creep in? How does she deal with those darker moments?
She does, and she's very honest about the fact it's not always easy, you know?
Yeah.
But she has this amazing way of reframing those no's into something positive.
Okay.
She sees them as opportunities for growth, for reflection, for refining her craft.
It's like she's saying, okay, this particular door closed, but what other doors are opening up?
Exactly, yeah.
She's actively seeking the lessons in every experience, even the painful ones.
It is, exactly. And she even goes so far as to say that sometimes those no's can be more valuable than the yeses.
How so?
Because they force you to dig deeper to get clear on what you really want.
Okay.
To create your own path instead of waiting for someone else to give you permission.
It's like that old saying, when one door closes, another one opens. But Mary's taking it a step further.
Yeah.
She's not just waiting for that other door to open. She's building her own damn door.
I love that.
And that brings us back to that concept of Chicallywood.
Yes.
YoungBlaze's vision for a self-sustaining film industry right here in Chicago. It's about empowering local talent, creating opportunities outside the traditional Hollywood system.
Right.
And building something unique that reflects the spirit of the city.
It is, and it's so clearly aligned with Mary's own philosophy.
Yeah.
Her belief in creating your own lane, not waiting for permission to do what you love.
But Chicallywood also implies a community, a collective effort, right?
Yes.
It's not just about individual success.
It's not.
It's about building something bigger than yourself.
It is, and Mary talks about the importance of collaboration,
Okay.
of supporting other artists, of creating a network of like-minded individuals who are all striving for excellence.
So it's about fostering a sense of community within the creative scene rather than seeing each other as competition. Mary emphasized the importance of professionalism.
Oh, yes.
Now, I know we touched on this earlier, but I think it's worth revisiting in the context of Chicallywood. It's like she's saying, if we want to build something truly special here, we need to set a high standard for ourselves and for each other.
And it's not just about showing up on time and hitting your marks.
Right.
It's about respecting the craft, respecting the collaborators, and showing up fully prepared to do your best work. It's about creating a culture of excellence that will elevate the entire scene.
And that brings us back to that central question we posed earlier, if performance is a prayer. As Mary believes, what kind of prayers are being offered up in Chicago's creative scene?
Yeah.
What kind of energy are these artists putting out into the world?
It's a powerful question.
It is.
And one that we'll continue to explore in the final part of our deep dive into the world of Mary Q. Angel.
As we kind of get into the last part of our deep dive into Mary Q. Angel's world, I'm really struck by how her personal philosophy seems to just permeate like all of her work. You know,
remember how she talked about like writing dialogue based on those unspoken conversations?
Yeah.
The energy and dynamic between people? That's a skill we can all cultivate, I think.
For sure.
It's about paying attention, not just to what people say, but how they say it, you know?
Yeah.
Their body language, the silences between the words.
It's like you're a detective of the human heart.
Exactly.
Looking for all those little clues that reveal the hidden stories beneath the surface.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Mary such a compelling artist.
Yeah.
You know? She's not just telling stories. She's uncovering them, revealing these universal truths that connect us all.
And she does it with such empathy and compassion.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how she talked about the importance of honoring each individual story?
Yeah.
That belief that everyone has a unique voice waiting to be heard?
She sees the value in every human being.
It's a beautiful way to approach the world, isn't it?
It is.
Seeing the potential for greatness in everyone you meet. But I'm curious about the flip side of that.
Okay.
I mean, if everyone has a story worth telling, doesn't that imply a certain level of responsibility on the part of the artist? Like, how do you choose which stories to tell, which voices to amplify?
That's a great question, and it's one that Mary wrestles with as well.
Yeah.
You know, she's very aware of the power dynamics at play. Yeah, and I think that's where Chicallywood comes full circle. It's about empowering those voices that have been traditionally excluded, you know?
Yeah.
Giving them the resources and support they need to create their own art.
On their own terms.
Yes, exactly.
And build something unique and powerful. And I think that's one of the most exciting things happening in Chicago right now.
It is.
There's this sense of possibility, you know?
Yeah.
Breaking down barriers.
Yeah.
Creating something truly new and innovative.
It's like they're writing a new chapter.
Yeah.
In the story of American cinema.
Rooted in community, collaboration, and a deep respect for the power of storytelling.
And Mary's at the forefront of that.
Yeah, she's leading by example.
Yeah, she is.
And inspiring others to follow her lead. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Mary Q. Angel, I'm left with this one kind of lingering question.
Okay.
If performance truly is a prayer, as she believes,
Yeah.
what kind of prayers are we offering up in our own lives? What kind of energy are we putting out into the world? And I think the answer lies in those like quiet moments of reflection, you know? Those times when we can step back from the noise of the world and just ask ourselves, what really matters?
Yeah.
What do I want to create? What kind of impact do I want to have?
Those are the big questions.
Those are the big ones. And maybe, just maybe by asking those questions, by being more mindful of our intentions, our actions, and our creative choices,
Yes.
we can all contribute to a world where performance becomes a powerful force for good.
Absolutely.
A way to uplift, to inspire, and to connect with one another on a deeper, more meaningful level.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
Embrace your unique voice, cultivate your creativity, and never underestimate the power of your own story.
Because the world needs your prayers.
It does.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep those prayers coming.